This day in sports history. Well, hey there, and welcome back to another edition of This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. It is October 4th, and on this day throughout the sports history timeline, we had an incredible end to an ALDS game. Dem Bums finally won one. Kentucky did something they had not done on the football field in 75 years, and a most hilarious prank. Those stories and more on the way, plus a non-sports fun fact about driving around the world, including the oceans. Stick around, this is going to be a fun one. Lots to talk about today. So let's start with what happened on this day in 1995 in an American League divisional series. This would turn out to be one of the greatest playoff series in Major League history. Big play after big play, all the drama, all the tension, everything on the line for a chance to advance. It was great theater. This was the New York Yankees and the Seattle Mariners. Don Mattingly was finally getting a chance to play in the postseason after 13 years of trying. This was also the debut of Ken Griffey Jr. in the postseason. Both were making the most out of their premieres as well. Griffey bombed 2 homers in Game 1, but the Yankees equaled those long balls with 2 of their own in a 9-6 win. On this day, it was Game 2 at Yankee Stadium, and the Bronx was rocking. The Mariners took a lead in the 3rd with a Vince Coleman dinger. The Yankees tied it up in the 5th. Seattle scored one in the top of the 6th to retake the lead. The Yankees tied it back up in the bottom half of the 6th, and then Mattingly came to the plate and he nearly brought the house that Ruth built down to the ground.
Andy Bennis gave up 8 home runs during the regular season. 3 of them by right-handers, 5 by left-handers. This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
That made it 3-2 New York, and Yankee manager Buck Showalter said he felt like the dugout was going to collapse as Mattingly ran around the bases. He had never heard Yankee Stadium so loud, and the whole place was shaking. The Mariners retook the lead in the 7th, and New York came back in the bottom half to tie it up again. It stayed 4-4, and the game went to extra innings. In the top of the 12th, Junior uncorked another one and untied it.
RBI in this game, 4 in the series. He drills it deep to right field towards the gap. 385. My goodbye. Home run. He has done it again. 5-4. Seattle lead.
His 3rd homer of the series, and the Mariners led once again. New York tied it back up in the bottom half, and the game stretched on into the 15th, and Wednesday rolled into Thursday morning. As the game crept into its 5th hour, Jim Leyritz came to the plate with a man on and ended it with one swing.
Fly ball, right field. Maybe. It could be. Back in the wall. Goodbye. Home run. The Yankees win. Jim Leyritz, a 2-run homer in the 15th inning. Yankees win 7-5.
It took 5 hours, 12 minutes to play it, which was, at the time, the longest postseason game in MLB history in terms of elapsed time. The win gave the Yankees a commanding 2-0 lead in the series, but when the series shifted to Seattle, it took a drastic swing. How about another memorable game in Yankee Stadium that happened on this day in 1955? At this point in sports history, New York was stuffed with baseball teams, and the Brooklyn Dodgers were the also-rans. If you lived in Brooklyn at the time, you probably called the Brooklyn Nine Dem Bums. It's not because they didn't have success. They won 4 pennants between 1947 through 1953. But they had never been able to win the World Series in their 7 trips. Their failings in the Fall Classic were much more painful for Dodgers fans after all the Yankees' success in 4 decades, and even more so when the Giants won the series in 1954. Dem Bums also had some talent. There was Jackie Robinson, now an 8-year veteran in 55. There was the long ball hitting Duke Snider in center field and Gil Hodges at first. And of course, Pee Wee Reese was still hoovering up ground balls at shortstop. Despite the talent, they always seemed to come up just a little bit short. So this was a subway series between the Dodgers and the Yankees, and it looked like the same old script was going to play out in '55, with the Yankees winning the first 2 games of the series. But the Dodgers came back to win games 3, 4, and 5. The Yankees evened the series and set up the deciding Game 7 at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx on this day. The Dodgers led 2-0 after 5.5. Dodger second baseman Don Zimmer had been pinch hit for in the top of the 6th, which created a shift in the field in the bottom half, moving Junior Gillum from left field to second base, and manager Walter Alston inserted Sandy Amoros into left. The Cuban-born Amoros had been a bit disappointing in the majors in his 4 years in the Dodger organization to this point. He seemed to have little trouble hitting minor league pitching, but when he was brought up to the big club, he struggled at the plate. He was mostly used as a defensive substitution late in games. But this was Game 7 of the World Series. Everything ramped up to 11, so this was a little bit of a gamble on Austin's part. But the gamble paid off. In the bottom half of the 6th inning, Yankee Billy Martin drew a walk. Gil McDougald laid down a great bunt to move Martin to second, and McDougald was safe at first. 2 on, a man in scoring position, no outs, and Yogi Berra coming to the plate. In 1955, Berra had been a .272 hitter with 27 homers and 108 RBI. He was a dangerous man to face in this situation. He was a left-handed batter, and so the Dodger outfield rotated towards the right field line. However, Berra connected on an outside pitch, and he sent one down the left field line. Martin hesitated just a little bit, but McDougald took off, thinking that there was nobody getting to that opposite field shot. Amoros broke on the ball immediately. He was a left-hander, so the glove was on his right hand, and it's fortunate that it was. He covered a lot of ground and made a great catch about 5 feet from the seats that were nestled tight to the line. He wheeled and he threw a strike to the cutoff man, Pee Wee Reese, who was able to nail McDougald trying to scramble back to first for the double play. Now, if that ball had fallen, the game would have been tied, and Berra would have been on second with no outs. Instead, the Dodgers still had a 2-0 lead with 2 outs now. Junior Gillum, the man who had been in left field previously and was a right-hander, said after the game that he would have never gotten to that ball. Years later, the Dodgers' winning pitcher on this day, Johnny Padres, said if Amoros had not caught that one, the Dodgers might never have won a World Series in Brooklyn. Hey, real quick, you've heard me talk a lot about the Sterling Soap Company over the past few months, and if you haven't tried out their soaps, I get it. It's not easy changing up your routine. But let me just say, if you give them a try, I'm nearly 100% certain you will have 0 regrets. They carry not only bar soap, but shave soap, liquid body soap, body lotions, beard balm, lip balm, and a lot more. Plus, there are myriad scents to choose from. Their products are made with natural ingredients and scented oils, and they are committed to being environmentally conscious. And I always get a handwritten note on my packing slip, so I know it's been checked before shipping, and it's a nice little human touch in a world that seems to be going away from that. Give Sterling Soap a try today at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 1997, the Kentucky Wildcats beat the Alabama Crimson Tide in football. It was a pretty momentous thing since Kentucky had only beaten Alabama once before. That win coming in 1922, 75 years earlier, when Kentucky put 6 on the board against Bama, and that's all they needed. Well, on this night in 97, it would require a lot more than 6 points. The game, played in Lexington, was a back-and-forth affair. The Crimson Tide were doing their damage on the ground, rolling up 239 yards rushing. Tim Couch and the Wildcats were using an aerial assault. Couch completed 32 passes for 355 yards on the day, and by the midway point of the 4th quarter, there had been 5 lead changes. Bama was trying to extend their 4-point lead with a field goal late in the game. It was setting up to be one of those close but no cigar games for Kentucky. But then, this happened.
He did make one from 48 yards earlier this season. Here's the kick. It's blocked. And it's picked up by Anwar Stewart. Anwar Stewart goes all the way.
A 60-yard return of the blocked field goal for the score by Anwar Stewart and another lead change. Cats up 34-31. The Tide put together a drive that included 3 fourth-down conversions and set up the game-tying field goal. And the game headed to overtime. Bama won the coin toss, but a fumble ended their chance to put points on the board in the OT, and that put Kentucky in position to do something they had not done since 1922.
Bama 26, Couch to the air. Caught by East. Touchdown, Kentucky wins.
Now, of course, these teams being in different divisions don't play each other every year in the SEC, and they've played each other only 8 times since '97. But Bama has won every one of them. And on this day in 1992, it was one of the all-time great pranks ever pulled on a professional athlete. Now, there have been a lot of great jokes and jokesters in all sports. Sometimes a prank can go a bit too far, and other times they can hit just the right note on an unsuspecting target. Done right, a good prank can help improve team chemistry. Well, on this night, the Toronto Blue Jays pulled a hilarious one on one of their rookies, Derek Bell. Like a lot of young guys with a new major league contract, Derek had treated himself to a new car, and then he had made some modifications to it. Well, midway through the game between innings on Fan Appreciation Night, Joe Carter drove Bell's Jeep onto the outfield grass, while the Blue Jays PA guy made the announcement that one lucky fan would be driving home Bell's car that night. Bell looked on in disbelief, realizing immediately that that was his car. The PA guy went on to read out a section, row, and seat number of the fictitious lucky fan, while Carter drove past the Blue Jays dugout with a huge smile on his face. Bell looked like he got the joke, but then his face kind of changed, as if asking, "Are they really going to give away my car?" They didn't, but it was funny nonetheless. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Have you ever thought about driving around the world in a car? I'm going to guess that the wide expanse of oceans that you'd have to cross might be a barrier for you. Well, not to Australian engineer Ben Carlin. He converted a Ford Jeep into an amphibious vehicle, and after 5 failed attempts to cross the Atlantic, he and his wife put his car, named the Half Safe, into the water in 1950, and after a month, rolled into the Azores. After many stops that included year-long pauses to raise money to fix the car, a bout of dengue fever in India, and a divorce for the couple, the Half Safe pulled into Montreal on May 13, 1958, successfully circumnavigating the globe. Now, he figured he'd be world famous and book deals and movie offers would flow in. But they did not. The amphibious car fell into disrepair afterwards, and it finally ended up in an Ohio garage. And it stayed there until the early 80s when an Australian university tracked it down, bought it, restored it, and put it on display. The Half Safe, the car that drove around the world, can be seen at Guildford Grammar School in Perth. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.